I think it will be. But you know what else I really hope it'll be? GT filled. Bring me the GT Zest. Bring it.
Cheesy Zest.
Please.
With
Yep.
GTs and everything.
I
Yeah,
love it.
I was casting. I cast a Zest like a little bit after he did that Hero Marine series and TSL and stuff, and I was like, maybe Zest just has like a silent D in his name that he's never told anyone about. So he's like Zest DT, and it's just like, you know, he's like finally embracing.
Well, that
like
would make sense.
Yeah, with how he's playing lately, it would be Zest all over. It's funny, isn't it? He's just found like, first he found like a build in PvZ, which is just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna win with this a lot, and he's like, man, these CTs in PvT, I guess I'll just win with these a lot as well. It's funny how Zest works. He does come in as our bottom right red Protoss player as we start on this nice short map of Submarine.
Map in the map pool, apparently. Top left is the blue Terran, just took down Showtime. It is INnoVation.
What a way to take Showtime down as well, right? Like, you win 3 in a row, so you really feel momentum's on your side in the matchup you play in the next round. You know, that's got to feel good.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder how much of these things is just like INnoVation expected, right? Because like I always make fun of his robotic response to all of his victories or his losses, like whichever one. But I feel like INnoVation's got to be a confident guy, and not necessarily overconfidence, because he deserves a lot of the accolades he gets. But it's like, I shouldn't lose to this guy. I'm losing. Okay, well, let's just change things. Okay, I won. Great. That's what's supposed to happen. And it actually gives him no morale boost at all. I don't know. But he's got to know that Zest is going to be a different type of player. Showtime has really, I almost feel like, I don't want to say corner just because it does happen with other Protosses, but I feel like Showtime was one of those guys that did a lot of the Disruptor DT Blink play. And obviously last series, it was actually ended up being more of the fast High Templar play, but still. I'm not sure Zest is going to be that guy to use Disruptors. I'm not sure INnoVation's going to have to worry about that. But Zest is usually a Twilight Council guy as an opener, that's for sure. Whether it goes in the TTs or just in the Blink.
Yeah, just to quickly mention as well, I'm still using these war chest skins, and they're just a little bit buggy, guys. So the players don't see this when the gateway like builds and then disappears and then builds again. It's just a slight visual bug on our side, but I kind of feel like it's not so annoying that we shouldn't get to watch the new skins. I like seeing them. I like letting people see them as well as the Reaper goes down. That's a little bit of a mistake right there.
That was not supposed to happen. Did he see the Twilight Council? He did at least see.
Did he? Oh, he did. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, that's probably why it died. Is he went so deep to see it.
I moved the camera at the bad time, so it kind of looked like he like ran up the ramp and then tried to run down the left-hand side, and then he just died. I was like, yeah, okay. At least he gets the scout, right? And then in that case, losing the Reaper is not anywhere near as bad. It would be nice if the Reaper was home right now to help with this, because any extra damage against these first couple of gateway units is always going to be a big positive.
Anytime a Reaper dies, it kind of is like a green light. If there was a yellow light before, kind of cautioning the Protoss player away from doing this, yeah, kill the Reaper, that's a green light. To at least do exactly what he just did, which is send the Adept to the back, deny mining. Obviously, you can't really break the bunker, and production is ramping up here, so you will have to leave, but it also might get you some scouting. If you immediately go across the map, it didn't really hear, so base assumption for Terran versus Protoss, they're going to go for a Widowmine drop. And that is exactly what INnoVation is doing, so I'm going to guess Zest is preparing for that. He is grabbing... Actually, he's going for 3 gateways, right? Which is just not something we see very much anymore. It's either 2 or 4 nowadays. Yeah,
3 gateways is like in the middle, doesn't really... It's not super aggressive, it's not super defensive, really. Like, you can kind of defend with 3 gateways what you can defend on 4. Like, it's just kind of middle of the road, kind of the way you used to kind of do Blink, so... This shouldn't be super aggro. This should just be a third base very soon, actually, passing the 4-minute mark. There is already maybe getting a little bit later for it, so maybe we do see Zest get a bit out on the map or so. Maybe a little bit afraid about what INnoVation is up to and doesn't want to take the third too early without too many units. Goes straight into the Observer off the Robo. And there's that extra gate finishing to make this 3, and at the same time, Widowmine's into the main, unseen coming in, so he will not have units in position, but he responds and pulls the workers away. This was actually a bad unburrow, because he could have had at least 2 probes there, I think. Maybe even 3, depending on when the workers and the gas moved, so...
Right.
That was unnecessary. That was a kill he could have absolutely had, and then obviously it didn't even get a chance to fire with the reburrow not going down fast enough.
that third gateway isn't only a bit weird because it's, yeah, again, either 2 or 4. It was also like a little weirdly timed. It was 1, 2, and then 3, which is like usually more 1-3 situation. I don't know, maybe he changed his mind, or this is actually just part of his robo opening build, but it might actually be totally unimportant. INnoVation might have not read anything into it. He didn't see the robotics bay, and that's a little more important.
I think Zest's going to play a 2-base all in. He did this against Uthermal on this map yesterday. Maybe just feels it's short so you can run across. And in fairness, wherever you run with Colossi here, like, you have pretty good choke points to like fight, right? So maybe that's just his plan, because we kind of saw this against Uthermal yesterday, and Uthermal didn't really figure it out, and then he ran into the army, he lost a bit, and, you know, Zest was still on 2 bases, and that was when Zest was just like, cool, this is great for me. It drops this battery overcharge. Pushing a few Marines away. These tanks have to siege up very far off, so this is not really a problem, and I don't think INnoVation should get anything done with this first real tank push. Liberator was annoying, denying some mining time, and it will just slip out the right side, so we'll survive this. The Stalkers see the Unsiege. That Observer giving you great vision to come in, and boom. Siege tank gets taken down. Now, of course, these Stalkers can continue fighting against Marines, force the tanks to siege back up, and yeah, this has been a pretty good setup from Zest so far, getting a lot of damage done.
Yeah, you know, INnoVation doing something a little interesting, getting this later Raven than we usually see, but he has got a lot of tanks, so I might have pushed that off. That will mean he won't have Simmer combat shields very quickly whatsoever, which, I mean, might be okay. The tank count is still going to grow. The Raven is a sometimes crucial tool, but with him, his tank push also not looking really that devastating, and now he loses another tank and a Liberator and maybe the Raven. Okay,
oh, no.
I take everything back. INnoVation's screwed.
Yeah, that's really bad. He just lost everything that's meant to somewhat keep him alive here, and now Zest just goes up in the main. I mean, he's doing all of this while going into Colossi as well, right? That's the crazy thing. So, yeah, INnoVation losing a bit too much on the map, and now, well, the bunker is going to go down as well. 3 more Stalkers warp in. Zest knows at this stage he is in a position to keep making this work. I mean, he actually will bring the Colossus across the map as he actually comes back and finds these units that were from behind, and now INnoVation is down and hurting quite heavily.
Believe he lost all those important units, man. A Liberator siege up in this choke with 2 tanks covering it. Third one on the, like, that is such a big difference. It's still problematic because all of Zest's army is like cutting INnoVation's army in half with that weird push that he did, but it still would have looked a little more convincing. That is a very bold blink forward, though. That tank on the high ground doing some extreme damage to the Stalker count, all bulked up as it was. But this is still Zest's push. Like, he can still stay here and force INnoVation to continue not just dying, but also miss macro, and he's actually still not started Simmer combat shields.
Yeah, he's very slowed down on everything, basically, right? He's just trying to survive. And Zest is on a 3rd base now. Zest has started double forges. He's got charge on the way. Now he's going to Colossus drop with a slow War Prism, which is very brave, but it's actually going to work pretty well. He gets 3 SCVs, 4 he's going to get fresh mules. Oh my god. How come the best Colossus drop we've ever seen in, like, the last year comes off a slow War Prism? Well, that was kind of devastating for INnoVation. That's so much extra damage on top of already being in a very, very difficult to play position.
I'm actually kind of surprised that INnoVation is staying in this game. Man, he doesn't have anything to really work with. I mean, even if he had that Raven, it'd be like, well, you know, maybe interference matrix, I don't know. But really doesn't have anything. And for him to realize he didn't start stim after his +1 weapons was done, I don't know. If this is a ladder game, I feel like he taps out at that point. But I guess SCV pool with some Vikings and hope your tanks get into a decent position. But, well, Zest is going to be on top of him this entire time, apparently. Zest feels no need to stay at home protecting his bases.
Zest's just like, well, what do you even have to, like, attack me across the map with? And if you do have something, like, he does have warpins, right? He's got a lot of gateways, so he sees enough of the army at home that he knows it's not like a massive doom drop, so he's not going to be completely out of positioned here. And I think Zest is just like, yep, I'll patrol around, make sure you don't try and take a 3rd base into location. As long as that isn't happening, I don't need to force a fight. I'll just stay, you know, again, there's benefits from staying on the map. The other thing as well is this is Submarine. It is the shortest map in the map pool. It's very quick for Zest to return back home if suddenly there is a big drop, right? So compared to some other maps, he's always going to be more in position here wherever he is than, you know, where he might be on other maps if he was trying to do the same thing.
Oh wow, I'm actually I was worried if the Vikings chased, right? Because it's a slow War Prism, but doesn't chase. He does see the push out. Yeah, I was gonna say if you have a third CC, you just pull the SCVs. You're so screwed otherwise. Try and win right now. Is a 10 army supply difference. Is also an upgrade difference. But finding this army in the choke with 3 Colossus. Force Field's also available. INnoVation has to go another path. That's gonna give Zest another like 1 or 2 more warpins.
Yep. Zest is wow. Zest actually is just like, you know what? I'm gonna base trade and then recall. I mean, as long as he recalls in time, but he actually doesn't have the energy on his Nexus just yet, so he could recall into his main. I feel like this is so unnecessary.
Right?
You know,
yes, yeah, exactly.
I casted Zest INnoVation, I think, a week ago or something, and they actually did this happen as well, where Zest is like, oh, I've got the perfect army to counter, there's no way I lose. I'm just gonna base trade. And I'm like, surely, but like base trading works, yes, but like it creates so much more risk than you need it to be. Like, why do you need to make this crazy scenario that maybe gives INnoVation more chance than just straight up fighting him? I mean, is he really afraid of those tanks? I really don't think he should be, but well, here we are. I mean, he is gonna base trade, and I guess we'll see where this ends up eventually. Is Zest is he actually just recalled his probes out of the main into the third, so that's his recall gone. So he will just walk home.
So, like, 2 really important things here. 1, Darktron is instantly sniped. That's a really good thing for INnoVation. 2, INnoVation has no Medivacs, which is a really good thing for Zest. Like,
Yeah.
even if you have Medivacs, stims become a resource when it comes to a base trade. So, I mean, no Medivacs is actually just terrifying, but I still agree with you overall. Like, this is just an unnecessary risk. INnoVation is down to his last few buildings, obviously building another command center, but Zest still has, like, 20 buildings to lose before he has to worry. And his army is still way better, even as the upgrades did even up, even as the SCVs are available. Zest should be able to just defeat his army.
Yeah, this is not an army of INnoVation, which is that great. I mean, eventually Zest is just going to expand himself, right? He takes an expansion top right. So, yeah, you can deny this third base of Zest, and maybe Zest wasn't quite thinking of that, but now he takes the fourth base, and yeah, he's just going to continue mining. And of course, INnoVation, what's he going to do? Well, he has a CC, so I guess he can maybe start mining himself, but he's going to have to rebuild every last bit of production. I mean, he has a starport floating top right. So yeah, Zest already with the Nexus coming up is in a very comfortable position here, and I think INnoVation just has to do more than... Whoa, Zest is going to pull the probes into this? What? I mean, again, unnecessary. Really? I mean, this probes just keep running... Like, okay, I've got no idea what Zest is doing in this game. It's going to work out, but it's just like, again, it's just completely unnecessary to do this here and now like this. I mean, again, it works. I don't want to criticize too much. It's just, like, Zest, you know, you're scaring me here a little bit, buddy. Like, you know, let's calm down a little bit or so. GG's called, and Zest will take the first game of a pretty convincing map from start through to...
Expect. Granted, we started this day off waiting for a laser, but, you know, we still kind of knew what to expect.
Yeah. Today's start wasn't quite as smooth and as expected as possible, as kind of expectation, but the rest of it's been pretty expected, right? Some awesome games. I mean, I know Showtime made up for any delays we had at the start of the day, so it's been pretty good from there on out as we do start with INnoVation down a game. In the bottom left-hand side, our blue Terran player.
Top right, we have the red Protoss. He is best, he is Zest.
Yeah, he actually, it does feel like Zest just really looks very good at the moment, right? And it feels like some days he can take, but he's still got that like Zest consistency, which is like some days he can take down anyone, and the next day he kind of like stumbles and falls, and you're like, Zest, did you forget to plug in the keyboard today, or you know what's going on? Because already today, you know, this first game looked brilliant. He was perfectly positioned. He had good vision all the time. He responded to what he was seeing with his observers. You know, Zest really made the most of everything that was happening. You know, I casted Zest a couple, you know, yesterday and stay-at-home story cup before he had to forfeit, and you know, he definitely made a lot of mistakes against Clem. He made a lot of mistakes and looked somewhat, you know, defeated in himself and his play against Thermal. So, yeah, it's just that Zest consistency has definitely always been a bit of a kind of a problem for him, I guess. But today he's showing up so far, so it's good news.
It's always a little weird calling him inconsistent, at least in the past, I don't know, year maybe, just because like he plays in so many things, right? Sort of like StarCraft 2 in general is so hard to call who's really on top all the time because we have so many tournaments. so many prestigious tournaments too, not just like everything being online or something like that. That we don't have the Brood War, like they won 2 tournaments, so of course they're going to be the best for 6 months.
Yeah.
There's no other question, right? But yeah, Zest definitely has those moments where he either looks like a god or he looks like his Zest supply blocks or the Zest macro, right, really hinders him. So I mean, perfect example was TSL. Got bopped by Euthermal and then actually managed to crawl his way through a bunch of other Terrans in the lower bracket. But he does look very good today, besides the last kind of 30 seconds, minute there in the last game. INnoVation once again finds himself up against a pretty good Protoss, down 0-1, and is going to go ahead and add on some aggression, it looks like. A couple Hellions popping out of that factory.
Really changed it up, because we've not seen Hellions from him at all so far today. I think at one point against Showtime, he was building a couple as kind of a fake out and then the hallucination, so it might have even been on this map. And he ended up just with the 4 Widow Mines, which he parked between the natural and the third, and then he didn't do anything else. So this time, is he going to go for more than just the 2 factory units I mentioned? So he's going to go for the 3rd and 4th Hellion, which generally to me says this Starport's going to build a medevac and at least try to drop a little bit. But nope, he's going to play a swapsies. He's just going to try and let these Hellions run by for the damage in the early game.
If it's any consolation, I was with you. Thought I was going to be medevac as well.
Yeah, I mean, I know like a lot of the time they proxy the Starport for the medevac, but if you go in 4 Hellions, like, usually you get medevac, but it's going to be a Banshee, so maybe causing, causing chaos and then playing off of that, right? These Hellions cause a bit of disruption, then the Banshee comes in, or maybe the Hellions hang back and wait for the Banshee to distract and be annoying. As that's just moved away from his wall, but then he re-walls with a shield battery, so this is going to be fine. These Hellions will not do anything in the first few moments. And this is Zest already respecting the possibility of a medevac here.
Yep, medevac or Liberator. It is going to be eventually a Banshee. This is some really nice, safe play here from a red Protoss. This will, of course, I mean, if his plan was to go into a faster 3rd Nexus, it does kind of complicate things a little bit, but he has been very comfortable going for 2 base, all the gases off of Blink, and he's doing that again here. Gonna have to cancel that, but that's okay. The Banshee still isn't around to take advantage of these units being on top of the Hellions. 1 Hellion goes down, but we know the magic number is 3 Hellions, so still wants to make sure to continue walling off.
Yep, needs to not let those Hellions in at all as Zest, but once again go into that Robo Bay pretty quick here after the Blink finishes, so very similar to the last game again for the moment, as he'll go into the single Forge. And you have the first Banshee just waiting on the right-hand side. Second Banshee is not made. He actually... Oh, sorry, there it is. It's in production still. My bad. Apparently I missed it in production altogether. Oh,
no worries. Sorry, I'm looking at the gas timings, and I'm like, he's not going to try and do mech, is he?
I mean, it looks like it, right?
Well, I really want to see mech work on Everdream, just understand how and why.
I think if you get to, like, the 5 bases, it's not super bad, right? Because...
if you get to 5 bases, Wardy.
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to be positive, CG. I'm just trying to find some positivity for my boy Inno, right? Like, I don't want to just be like, well...
if nothing touches me for the first 12 minutes, I think I'm in a good spot.
I mean, on the plus side, this is going to be Colossus, right? Which, for mech, is a little bit better than having, like, masses of gateway units that will swarm you. So, it's a little bit of an improvement in terms of just the initial startup build. As Observer already in position, so the first Banshee gets a probe. And there do go our 2 extra factories.
Funny. Yeah, so we'll see how this works out. Like, I kind of get maybe the fact that you can have tanks on the high ground and still protect your 3rd a little bit if you take a triangle expansion. I'm also a fan of mech when the early game goes in the favor of the Terran, right? These Banshees do something, the Hellions do something. Obviously, it's not something you can always depend on, but yeah, I think it is a lot easier. But otherwise, we're talking about the shortest map. We're also talking about a map that has a few entrances. A concave as well around that 3rd, not a choke like on Eternal Empire. So, I mean, once Zest identifies this, we can talk a little bit more about his possibilities, but that is something that might take a while. You see this many Marines, you're kind of like, yeah, that makes sense. This is also a bio thing. He's not seen the extra factories. He did not see the gas timings.
Yep, he's very blind. So
yeah, exactly.
It's a tough one to read. The only thing he could maybe make something of a read off of is he sees like a 3rd Banshee. He's like, ooh, one more Banshee than usual, perhaps. It's like, that's a very slight tell, because it's not even super weird that sometimes maybe even make an extra Banshee here, because INnoVation's like, man, I did no damage. Better make sure I've got a bit more damage output just in case he does go like very aggressive against me. So even that's kind of like a, like a shaking of the hand, like, maybe, kind of thing. Now the Hallucinate Phoenix comes in, and now Zest knows for sure what he's playing against. Let's see if he makes any big alterations to kind of how he's set up for now. As INnoVation gets some depots to the left side, wants to try and create something to maybe absorb some Zealot shots if they run in towards this army. I really feel like this is the weird 3 base to take, because I feel like this is the harder 3 base to hold with mech than the one on the left side. Maybe just easier to deal with the potential warp into the main.
They both seem difficult to me.
Yeah,
like I understand the left side is like it has more chokes to work with, but then if you protect your third base from the top choke, you're open in the middle choke, right? So
yeah, true.
Yeah, exactly what you're pointing out. So, but that's for the other third, though. For this third, as much as I'm like, yeah, you can put your tanks on the high ground, which is exactly what INnoVation is doing. You could even maybe put a tank on like the main base. There's this whole concave, exactly. This whole concave that you can get. But these are only things that we like. It's great to talk about it, but if Zest doesn't do any of these things, if Zest still plays like a normal game and then only later on realizes like, oh shoot, I should have gotten a fourth base faster, I should have gotten a double forward faster, then it's all moot. Like it's all like, why even bother? INnoVation's gonna get maxed out and Zest is gonna have to deal with a maxed out mech army. And then what you said is exactly correct. If you can get to 5 bases, then what's the problem?
See, I just 200 IQ, I just knew Zest was not going to respond to it. Just preemptive casting as 3 Banshees are going to make their way into the main, and there's obviously the 2 from before as well. They're all going to join together. The Stalker blinks away from the first shot and the second shot for Micro from Zest as, well, a few more Stalkers warping in, and INnoVation will just try and trade out here. That's a few kills. Needs to be, I mean, this is kind of brutal though, because now he's going to lose more Banshees as he tries to leave. He runs out of detection range, so he just doesn't lose a 3rd Banshee, but that's 2 Banshees for a couple probes and a couple Stalkers. Not ideal. It's kind of like the 3 Banshees sent themselves in there to rescue those 2 other Banshees, and they kind of failed, but at least they got some kills in the process.
Saving Private Ryan, where you save one guy but lose the entire squad.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like, well, at least, yeah, it's like there's actually no bad. It's like there's no positive to this. It's just like, well, we screwed up. We did not succeed. Let's just accept it.
Let's accept it. Zest has done a decent job kind of recovering the power-up portion of this game. By that I mean, yes, he didn't get to stop INnoVation, but at least he's finally on 4 bases, double upgrades. And he will max out probably along INnoVation's push, but it's not preferable. You want to be higher upgrades, more economy, or maxed out faster, or all of the above, before they really feel comfortable. INnoVation feels comfortable, I would say. But we'll watch this engagement go down. Hello?
Yeah, let's see what happens. These couple of tanks full. I mean, INnoVation was chasing to the top side, so he was out of position with a lot of the units. So Zest gets in and gets a couple shots off. I mean, now starting to build up a few disruptors, adding some immortals into play. Continues to expand, which is the right decision, right? You know, against mech, just expand, expand, expand. They're not as mobile, they're not as aggressive on the map all the time. So you can get expansions up easily. You do maybe need to think about how you're going to protect those expansions against Hellion run bys. And INnoVation just went right up into Zest's natural expansion here. Somehow he's going to somewhat escape out. Zealot Warping was good to block and actually does a very good job of slowing INnoVation's escape, and a few more units do go down.
Not as bad as it looked. Like, it can be suddenly very abrupt to suddenly be like, oh my god, you're going battle mech, and you're just catching all my stalkers. But Zest did a good job recovering, instant recall, good kind of wall of reinforcements to stop the retreat. INnoVation will continue on with this style of play. He will eventually have better upgrades. Zest has just been going like pure into attack upgrades. And with that Warp Prism, maybe he'll try posturing again on one of these bases, but the whole point is that it's supposed to be difficult to break the mech Terran. You wait for them to push into you, and well, if INnoVation never pushes, and it's so funny, like you're totally correct, if he gets to 5 bases, because I do think once you have a 4th and you're maxed out, the 5th is like easy enough to reach over to, we can talk about battle cruisers, which is exactly what INnoVation's going for.
INnoVation Fusion Core is already halfway done as Zest will try and split up the pressure in a couple different directions here. INnoVation has some unsieged tanks actually on the high ground, so that's a shame. Zest then goes blinking in, however, and that's a bit more questionable. There is a disruptor that's going to go to the Cyclones, but he dodges away. INnoVation splitting away nicely there. Zest is going to try and warp in more Stalkers to this fight. Tanks on the low ground finally starting to take some hits and finally starting to die to this. There's a Raven that's just done nothing throughout all of this, and that could have been a Matrix or 2 on some of these Colossi to help out for a little while. And Zest initially looked like he was losing a lot, but his ability to warp in into the fight versus INnoVation's slow rebuild kind of allows him to keep pushing through, and he does clean out the mineral line on the 3rd base, forces that orbital to lift off here. Zest is still going to keep going. More Zealots and Stalkers warping in. He matrixes to cancel the warp in. And that might just buy INnoVation a few extra seconds he needs without extra units from the Protoss play coming in to hurt him.
Yeah, with how few units were available, I mean, 3 Colossus is a pretty big deal, but still, the army getting really small, good lock on there. You do wonder what those 2 or 3 tanks sieged up would have done in that choke to add on. So that was just like maybe one of the better fights that Zest could have taken against a turtling mech player, but he does not actually break them. It actually still might be preferable. You just took away their confidence going into battle cruisers. Transferring over into 3 starport production on those takes all of your resources. So that's the good news, and Zest is going to build up to 5 bases now. So he'll hopefully be able to max out faster, which he currently is. He still has that 20 supply lead.
Yep. Just maxed out. INnoVation's army now, maybe you could argue, is getting a bit stronger because there's a few more siege tanks in it, but he's also building 3 Banshees at a time. The problem is this attack game just when no wanted to start making use of that, you know, battle cruiser play, but now he does not have time to build up into battle cruisers. He's going to build more and more Banshees, which in fairness, the Stalker count isn't as good as it once was, so maybe it'll work out quite well here. The Banshees just sat at the moment, dealing a lot of damage to Zealots, and Matrixes do go down on 2 Colossi this time around, but the siege tank count is way down from where he really wants it to be. INnoVation will not hold on, and Zest will get to a 2-0 lead. For the second time today, INnoVation is
Number 3.
you know, it's because I've been trying to do, like, during his stay-at-home story cup, I only did, like, sellout stuff, like, between series for the most part. And my brain's, like, lagging from the last couple of days suddenly. I'm just terrible with numbers, like, in casting. It's, like, the same as, like, you know, when you do, like, sometimes, like, if you're not paying, like, 100% attention, you're just like, oh, yeah, the top right, like, the red Terran. It's like, no, he's not Terran, right? It's just the silly things that you, like, let auto mode go out of control sometimes. That's me with numbers.
It's okay, man. We don't need to know numbers. We just need to know words. Good word talk. Nice.
All right.
You wanna talk the intro?
Top right, our red Protoss player is Zest on the verge of a grand final rematch against Sue because Sue did knock him down to the lower bracket in the winner bracket finals.
Well, in the bottom left, he might be down 0-2, but it would be a pretty sick rematch of INnoVation Sue if he were to come back. It is INnoVation.
Yeah, it feels like whatever happens here, we have like a we have a pretty good finals, right? Sue's been waiting there since he won that winner bracket final a little while back, and yeah, today he's gonna get his chance to win it all. So we'll see how it plays.
INnoVation's done it once. Can you do it twice in the same day within 2 hours of each other? The reverse sweep, comeback.
It did start on this map, right? He went.
Did it? Oh my god, you're right, it did.
Yeah, it did.
Oh,
start
he's gonna do the same thing.
The only difference is we haven't played Eternal yet. So.
Oh yeah. You know, believe it or not, I actually have so much more confidence in Showtime on Eternal than Zest.
Yeah, I
don't
do
know.
too.
Okay, cool.
Eternal, like, is Showtime's map, right? Like, it's his style works really well on it. So, yeah, it's definitely. I'm with you, right? Like, I feel like INnoVation is happier playing Zest on Eternal than Zest. So, yeah, I think should be happy with the potential of where this series can go still, maybe. We'll see what build he uses here, though. I mean, right now, you just got to take this one game at a time.
It is a little bit weird because I feel like some of the choice to do what he did on this map, that tank push with the SCVs, was because Showtime was doing this annoying thing and always going for a sentry and always hallucinating a Phoenix. Zest doesn't actually do that, it feels, as commonly. He didn't do a last game until, I think, later on, right? So, like, Showtime would get it second or third unit. So I don't know if that's going to play into him doing it here or not, or maybe he actually just thinks it's a really good build on this map, but that was part of the deception. Even though Showtime got on top of it about as fast as possible once he realized what was going on, his stalkers were trying to micro, it really was like, third TC, okay. Oh, wait a second. It was a surprise. So I don't know if the same thing's going to happen for Zest, especially because Zest also has been going for these 2 base openers pretty reliably so far. Another reason why maybe it'd be scary. As I say it, he sends a probe to take a third, so that's cool. That's fine.
Yeah.
Well, then maybe do it.
Yeah, it's going to be a faster third base. And actually, at the moment, it could be a way faster third base as well, right? This is like 400 minerals at the 340 marker. a single gateway down. This is as greedy as you get with the blink opener, basically. So if INnoVation could identify that, that would be amazing. But of course, his early scout has been denied now, and the Reaper's dead. So hard to see that for sure. He will go second and third racks though, so he will not be just sitting back and playing like super passive, which would have been amazing for Zest. He will have something of a push at some point in the future.
Yeah, definitely not the push we were thinking of, though.
No.
Well, all right. All right, then. Oh, Zest might actually still be able to get away with his third Nexus, of course. It's not like he's up against the third command center, but that doesn't stop Protosses from still being able to kind of fit that nice timing in. They probe really, really hard, and then just before they die, they get a bunch of units. We all have experienced that. In this case, Zest is not exactly going for the fastest upgrades either. I think if he knew it was a third CC, we could see some really extreme greed, but it's not. So maybe it's a single forge a bit in just a bit here. If he doesn't add a forge, I think we all know that that gives him a lot of potential for a ton of charge lots.
Yeah, for sure. It's we've seen it before, right? Zest is not afraid to just say, right, I've got my very fast third base, and I'm going to use that eco to just go masses of units, skip the upgrades, and essentially go all in off the the 3 base kind of initial kind of mass gateway economy. So it's a possibility, and that can be the sort of thing as well, which kind of overwhelms the first bio push of INnoVation in a game like this, when INnoVation's like, oh man, fast 3cc, let's go, let's push. But in reality, he actually needs to just sit back a bit, because given time, he's okay taking a later third base himself, because Zest isn't teching up for the later game. And still no forges, yeah.
Yeah, he is going for the forgeless attack. I mean, he's going to be able to saturate his 3 bases, as quickly as you would expect. But without those upgrades, without any upgrades, the number of charge outs you can really fit in, the amount of chronos that go into even gateway production over those upgrades, right? Can be pretty insane. Even has been an all-in in the past. Zaun, probably the most famous guy to continue using. That's a forgeless all-in. But we'll see how this combats INnoVation's push. He does have a Raven. Anti-armor missile could be really helpful here. I'm assuming he will never lose this Raven because he's much better than me. And there's only 4 Stalkers. In fact, so few Stalkers. I wonder if that's already a little suspicious.
Yeah. Man, he's going to have these gateways just about in time. Charge is going to be done just in time as well. The thing is, though, even if you only have... Imagine you just get, 1 Zealot Warping and that gets, anti-armor missiled. I feel like that's already kind of dangerous. I guess he has battery overcharge too, though, and that's obviously a pretty big deal nowadays. So yeah, it's a little rough for INnoVation, perhaps maybe getting something done. He will start a third base behind this, though, so he's not just looking to straight up win the game. And I do like that he loads the next 2 medevacs up and takes them toward the main base. Really looking to, multi-prong Zest here, rather than just saying, yeah, I can overrun you 1 big attack in 1 location. That definitely doesn't seem to be as much of a thing now in TvP with those battery overcharges.
Yes, that is a very good point. That's becoming a little more suspicious. This is a pretty good maneuver, though. Widowmine's guarding the ramp and going to be able to take down a decent number of production facilities. A Warp Prism is about to head into the main of INnoVation, though. Get some serious revenge for this little tactic. And there's not much to defend. A couple of units on the ramp, but nothing to take care of the Warp Prism.
Yeah, a couple more reinforcements just popped at least, but obviously the warp in from Zest could be pretty sizable here. INnoVation's going to hop up into the main base, and you do again have the Raven to help out. He drops an auto turret to begin with, and kind of a far off spot. I'd imagine, yeah, auto turret's a bit more to the front to actually help tank would be a little bit more kind of natural way to go about this, as the Widowmine's kind of going in weird ways. I mean, this just didn't do much at all for INnoVation. He's going to lift up and get out, but what did he really kill? I mean, resources lost is even, but you've got to remember, Zest has just been cranking out this third base economy from such an early stage, and now these Stalkers are going to warp in the middle of the map and catch the 2 full medevacs. That might just decide it.
I think it will. I was just going to say, INnoVation is just, thanking God right now. He didn't lose those 2 medevacs, but then he did. Sick Warp Prism placement. A little lucky there for Zest, but now a 40 supply lead. He is going to be down 2 upgrades, but by getting rid of so many units, so few Widowmines available, I think he just overwhelms the Terran here. Third to see actually might die. If he doesn't, the army dies. Either one is going to die.
Yeah, there's no good solution here for INnoVation. He is up upgrades, but I mean, it's just, you lose the third base, and it doesn't matter if you up upgrades or not. And honestly, the upgrades might not matter with just how much Zest has. He will start to push up this ramp as well. First couple of Widowmine shots will do okay, of course, but then Stalkers blink through. INnoVation types GG. And Zest has something to prove here today. Just shows up. Obviously, first time we're seeing him as he dropped from the winner bracket finals. And he just shows up and he just goes 3-0. Clean, simple. Didn't really feel like Zest was